Welcome to a series we're calling Winning Mealtime. This is about helping you, my fellow parents out there, defeat your children in the battle known as getting them to eat something good. So this is an ongoing thing that Dave and I are engaged in constantly. This is a huge concern for Majordomo Media, helping everybody out there feed your children. And we're going to try to give you as many strategies and tips and recipes as we possibly can, drawn from our own experiences. Some might work, some might not, because every kid is different. But they're all monsters. I'm going to make a Sunday gravy. Nothing crazy here. Meatballs, sausage, some pork shoulder. I used to put chicken thighs in this because I love a chicken thigh. But then one day, my wife sat me down and she said to me, I don't like chicken thighs when you put them in the tomato sauce. And that was the last we ever saw of her. No. So I'm gonna make this Sunday gravy, and then we're gonna show you at the end of this video, we will hopefully, if this all works out, continue on. You'll have some options to see what else you can do with this meaty tomato sauce. So meatballs first, just equal parts pork and beef. You know, you can put whatever. And then I like to say, maybe it's like a 2-to-1 ratio of meat to bread. I like a lot of bread in my meatballs. Nothing new if you've been making meatballs over these years, but it's nice to have the bread to, it really tenderizes your balls. Wow, that happened fast. Life comes at you fast. Okay, so I cut up 3 big fat slices of bread, and I think I only needed 1.5. But that's what that should look like, more or less. We'll hold on to this in case it comes up again. As always, in the battle against children, I'm trying to minimize the amount of pots and pans. Ever since I was a cook, and the sous chef said, in an offhanded comment, you know, the secret to a great meatball is raw onion. I just took her at her word and have always just stuck to it. So I'm gonna do half an onion, and I'm gonna save this other half that I'm just gonna toss into the tomato sauce too. So half an onion, a little parsley goes a long way. I don't love the smell of parsley, and I didn't think I liked the taste. I don't like a parsley salad. That is yucky. And I used to think I was making a statement by excluding parsley from my life. And then I realized I was missing it. And me and parsley got back together. We've been back together ever since. My daughter eats green vegetables. She's one of those. My son does not, very much does not. So the only way to make it happen is to trick my children into eating spinach is by hiding it in these meatballs. Always go for the chopped stuff. I'm gonna let this thaw while I prepare the rest of this stuff. You guys want a little garlic? You want some Parmesan? That was just whatever was left in this Parmesan container. A little sprinkle of oregano for that signature Italian-American flavor. And ricotta cheese. Ordinarily, I would probably soak the bread in milk, just as force of habit. I don't really know why else. Just saturate it with some fat and dairy, but because I'm adding this cheese, I don't feel super compelled to do that. You got to be careful with this part. You got to be careful with the introduction of the secret spinach, because kids have a highly trained green detector. I'm gonna do 2 eggs. That's it. So, and there's really no other way to do this other than to like get all up in there. I didn't season this. My hands are all dirty. Spencer, did you sign a release?
That's a wash up, sir.
Wash those hands and come in here and Give me a big 3-finger pinch of salt. Oh, much more than that. Much more than that.
This?
Oh, keep it going. Give me 2 more of those pinches that you just did.
All right.
Fantastic. That's great. And then grind me this pepper. This is an amazing way to cook. Mix these balls, boy.
Anything you say, sir.
All right, that's good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's give it up for Spencer, everybody. Okay. Making dinner at home is a race against 2 things: time and mortality, and your children. You have to make something delicious that your kids are going to eat. You also have very little time to do it, so you need to be efficient. You saw me starting to heat this pan up earlier. My sleep-deprived brain only got so far as heating this up because I wanted to start cooking off some of the pork and some of the sausages while I made the meatballs. Instead, I just sat here staring at this pot that was just getting hotter and hotter and hotter without adding anything to it. So I'm saving most of this just because we have another thing we're gonna cook with that later. But you know, these will be a couple little porky treats for my self. Throw some of these in here to brown. We're also gonna have the added benefit of all that pork fat rendering and becoming part of our cooking medium here. This is delicious sausage. I really like braising sausages in general. You get this texture that is unlike just grilling a sausage or pan frying a sausage or whatever. It goes from juicy to, what is the texture of a meatloaf or a meatball? Soft. So these guys are browning away over medium-low heat. While that's going, I'm gonna repurpose this piece of paper as my meatball landing zone. I didn't put garlic in these meatballs, both because I forgot, and also because I don't ever feel like it needs it. I'll put it in the sauce, and then everything will have that garlicky flavor to it. This is also the size of meatball that I think my kids prefer, but you can go smaller. I once saw our friend Dan Giusti. Dan runs Brigade, which is a company that contracts to do school food. I once saw him making his grandmother's lasagna, or maybe it was his grandmother making it. And her lasagna was just hundreds of tiny meatballs that she hand formed, just hundreds of tiny little meatballs. And I attempted it one time. It was delicious, but I got too much to do, man. I can't be making tiny meatballs for you people. We're doing okay on our number of dirty dishes here. Not great. Here's the other trick that you've seen me do a million times on here. This is my landing zone. I don't want these sausages to burst open yet, just to get a little bit of that color so they're not a couple of gray wieners. And now we're gonna go in with the balls. Meatballs will fall apart a little bit. I used to be pretty bummed about it. But you know what's nice? Is you got little chunks of meatball floating around in your tomato sauce. Well, that's happening. I have a really hard time not buying a can of Bianco tomatoes when I'm at the grocery store. I have a really legitimately hard time. I go to the grocery store 2 to 3 to 4 times a week, depending on how often I have to go for the shows. And even if I know I have Tiffany blue can of Bianco di Napoli tomatoes at home, it's impossible for me to pass them up. So this is pretty close. I'm just gonna throw garlic in here. And here's the thing, I'm under no pressure today to do this quickly, but I have a weird natural clock in my head when I'm cooking that says to me, it comes from cooking at home with my kids running around. My wife knows, I do all the cooking. She very graciously, covers the parenting while we're making dinner. The kids want my attention. She'll be like, Baba's cooking dinner, you know, don't bother him. Let me help you what you need. Stop wiping your mouth on his butt, blah, blah, blah. But I have this internal timer where it's like, usually I can hear the sounds all around me, and I can sense, oh man, things are erupting. This is about to fall out of my wife's control. I need to finish the cooking. We got to get dinner on the table. Like it's been too long. And while there are no children running around right now, my internal timer is like, yo, buddy, this is taking too long. Dinner's got to get done real quick here. Meat's going back in. This is this next little move is a Marcella Hazan move. Her tomato sauce classically was just crushed tomatoes, a whole onion, just the root removed, tossed into a pot with tomatoes and a fat knob of butter, and that was the whole sauce. And you would just simmer that. So that's inspired by her. There's plenty of fat in this thing without adding butter, although inevitably I will add some butter to this sauce. So sweet. All right. Just a little squiddly bop of water. So all my meatballs are sitting at the bottom. I want to, without destroying them, I want to redistribute. Eventually I'm going to season this, but I want to season it when it's, I know it needs a little salt to start for sure. And I know that I'm going to want, as though this doesn't have enough umami, I still like to add a little fish sauce. I just like to leave these in big clumps so they can be easily pulled out later. I don't want to eat spent basil. I don't want to eat basil. The kids definitely don't want to eat like floppy, dark leaves or even just like chiffonade of basil. I'm going to bring this to a simmer. So this is simmering now. This is important. Seasoning something when it's cold is very different than seasoning something when it's hot. So you need to taste it when it's the temperature you're going to serve it. So a little more salt. If you have tomatoes that are especially acidic and aren't sweet Bianco di Napoli, then add a little bit of sugar, but this is nice. So we're going to simmer this for hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours, doesn't really matter. The meatballs after an hour, I'm not a medium rare meatball guy. I want them to be that kind of just meatloafy, soft texture. God, there's gotta be a better word for this. Braised meat, soft meat. Anyway, that'll happen in an hour or 90 minutes. So we'll be back. All right, so it has been, how long has it actually been? 90 minutes? 113 minutes. Also known as 4 other videos worth of time that this pot of Sunday gravy has been simmering. It is ready to go. And here's what we're gonna do. Like I said, Sunday gravy, you've seen it before, hopefully. I don't need to tell you too much about it, but this is what it looks like. It has concentrated in flavor a little bit. So the tomato sauce is pretty potent, but that's what we want because we're gonna use it for all sorts of different things. The way I would serve this is, let's say we made this actually on a Sunday. I would retrieve and discard the flavoring onion. You have to thank the onion for its service. Thank you for your service. I would serve the meatballs and all of these delightful fixins on the day we made this. We also pull out this basil. I'm gonna use some of this tomato sauce for spaghetti for the kids or for, whatever, for pasta. But I'm taking the rest of this tomato sauce and we're going to apply it. We're going to reuse it. We're going to repurpose it for 2 additional dishes that are not the same exact flavor as this. My repurposing isn't just going to be, and now take that tomato sauce and put it on rigatoni. And now take that tomato sauce and make lasagna. Of course you can make lasagna with this. Of course you can make eggplant parmesan with this. You can make infinite number of specifically Italian dishes with the tomato sauce. You don't need me to tell you how to do that, and this might not be a problem in your house, and maybe you just serve Maybe you have like Italian week, like it's the Great British Bake Off at your house and everything is Italian for the week, but that don't fly at my house. My kids, my wife will not eat the same thing for 3 nights in a row. So I'm gonna take it in 2 different directions using this same tomato sauce. So fish out all your meat, and remember these meatballs have hidden spinach in them. In addition to the benefits of feeding your kids healthy, hearty, delicious food and helping them grow, you just feel for 1 second like you're a good parent. When you can get them to eat, when you can get them to secretly eat a bunch of spinach that you hid in the meatballs, God, that feels good. That's our Sunday meat pile. Like I said, so this sauce got pretty concentrated. It's a little more acidic now than when it started, which is fine, but I'm gonna take some of this meat sauce that has like meatball detritus. So just to temper a little bit of that acidity, I am gonna add butter to this sauce. And I have some cooked off spaghetti here that we did a little while ago. The one thing I'm bummed about with this spaghetti is that I did have Kelsey make this in advance so we could save some time. And then I rinsed it because it was starting to clump, which I would never ordinarily do. I'm just copping to my sins here. I would never rinse my spaghetti if I was really trying to do the best job possible, because you lose all of that starchy goodness that's clinging to the noodles and kind of mixes with the sauce to make it kind of adhere to the noodles and make it nice and more like a symbiotic relationship. I'm looking at this right now and maybe you can't see this. Maybe you can. I'm sure if you're Italian, you can. But like noodle and sauce here are sort of separate. They're not merging into one the way they should. Some of you out there may be saying, whoa, 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 Chris. That ain't gonna fly in my house. Kids need their noodles with sauce on top. They don't like them mixed together. And to you I say, that's your fault. Never let them see, never introduce them to noodles and sauce separately, and you'll never have this problem. I feel the pain. I know exactly what we're talking about, which is why my advice to you is to head them off at the pass and never let them see that. It's fine, you know? I ate my spaghetti like that for a long, long, long time when I was a kid. Ultimately, like this is just, and like if your kids are gonna eat it like that, like who cares? Just do it that way. Serve them separately. But it's just better this way. The noodle finishes cooking in the sauce and you get exactly what I was saying, which is more of a unified thing. The spaghetti and the noodles taste as one and not 2 separate entities. All right, one for Ira's kids with Parmesan, one for my kids without. That is our Sunday gravy. This is how you're gonna win Mealtime 1 of 3. Meatballs, spaghetti, with or without Parmesan. But this is the prize, this meaty tomato sauce that we're gonna repurpose for other dishes. But it's all gonna come stemming from this single pot of tomato sauce, and we're gonna take care of 3 dinners with 1 day of work. The rest are quick pickups or easy sort of dishes that you can throw together using this base ingredient. So that is step 1 of the battle strategy for this edition of Winning Mealtime.